What up, Random Rockers? Happy 2018. Let's talk about the films I see. The 20 films, technically really 19, adding 20 as of New Year 2018. I wanted to see one more film that was in 2017 so I could make this 20 films from worst to best of that I've seen this year. This past year, I should say, actually. Coming in at number 20, Fate of the Furious. Aside from, I had fun with this film. I've had fun with mostly every film on this list, actually. But this is the one that definitely out of quality and out of true memorability. This one is probably the more forgettable of them all. And there's not much to this film that we haven't seen before, and then trying to be serious definitely is totally different. Sometimes it's warranted in places when you finally get to know what the reveal is, or whether or not that even matters, unless you've really caught up with the film and been that invested, and so which affected me a bit. But overall, I didn't enjoy the film nearly as much as I would say our number 19, Kong Skull Island. Speaking of going back, though, to Fate and Furious, Paul Walker's absence is definitely a big part. And Scott Eastwood, you're never going to be anywhere near close to what... You can't fill his shoes, I'm sorry. You could try, but you're not going to. Back to our number 19, Kong Skull Island. I enjoyed this film. Samuel Jackson was pretty badass villain. True villain, that is. At least in terms of a more psychological thing. There was a lot of little things going on with that. But most of the time the cast isn't much to it, and I did enjoy the film, and I didn't mind the post-credits scene, even though they kind of already revealed it with the final thread of the credits, with mentioning the names, just in case you want to know who the hell these characters are. So it's kind of weak sauce in that regard, though. So that's all with that. Coming to number 18, controversial. Here's where things get a little controversial for some people because they would rather put it up a little higher on their lists, or maybe lower on their lists, which would be more surprising on that regard, given those movies I've just said. Though the movies I will say afterwards is where the controversy will probably come to pass with that. With Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I felt they did the same thing, more over the top, and it just... Some things worked still, like, for the most part, I would say it's definitely... It wasn't Baby Groot at all. I would say certain things that were worked well in the first film, they still maintained. But the other things they thought needed to be fixed, like Drax, and then making him more a funny character than an actual Drax the Destroyer, I felt like it was just forced with him and his jokes. They never really landed for me, except maybe the stupid penis joke. But even that's just kind of lame, I guess. Except for, having Chris Pratt's Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, was still fun to listen to. It's still fun to watch. He's still fun to watch, and even his chemistry with that of Kurt Russell. And but the real scene sealer was, forgive me for the actor who played this role, but Yondu, fucking Mary Poppins, y'all. It's just, what else more did you want to say? I mean, he had some of the better lines in this film, and made this film so great for what it is. Made this film worth watching, and his death didn't seem as in vain when it came to the ending, even having Stallone in this film, for that matter. But for the most part, as a film, I couldn't say that and at least for an ending, it was nice and cool, even though some post-credit scenes were kind of here nor there, some kind of cool here and there, but I do feel like it just lacked a little bit of what made the first Guardians work so well. and why it surprised people, even though I never really cared for the first Guardians either, but I care for this film less. And it has me worried for Volume 3. Fingers crossed that maybe he might surprise me and actually pull off what a certain other film has already done, and why that film will be my top 10. Getting to that a little bit later. Coming to number 17, Ghost in the Shell. I really enjoyed this adaptation. Finally, we have a really good adaptation that is not getting love for actually trying to be a good adaptation of the anime, and even does things that maybe was handled to some degree better than what the actual film gives us. This is where me and Chris Stuckman are going to agree on things far more than anyone else that's probably living on the East Coast. Midwest for life in that regard. Anyways, coming to number 16, Power Rangers. I enjoyed the way the characters, I never cared for them much as characters, and it was mostly about the martial arts, kung fu things, and then the robot Megazord, robots versus kaiju thing they had going on, which Pacific Rim somewhat does better anyway. And the fact that the weakest part of your film was the best part of the Power Rangers series, yet alone the movie that we had in the 90s that had a theatrical release, that shouldn't have had a theatrical release. Yeah. This film was far better, far superior than that. Definitely far superior than that. And if that's the worst part of your film, is that part of your third act? You're doing wonders. You're doing wonders. As far as I'm concerned, number 15, Justice League. Really had some fun. Had some great moments in here. Whedon tries to bring in some more fun vibes as opposed to the dark crap we've been getting within the past few films. Exception of Wonder Woman, which finds a better balance in between there, whereas this one just seems a little more clustered. But overall, this year has been definitely, as far as I'm concerned, a far better year for the DCEU as opposed to last year in 2000, as opposed to the year prior in 2016. That's for dang sure. And I'm definitely looking forward to what they have next for possibly Aquaman, and hoping that they make that out of the park, because they did definitely. Well, Aquaman was pretty damn cool for what we got in this film. Coming in at number 14, John Wick Chapter 2. This is definitely some damn good action, but there was something that had more meaning and flair that is at my number 1, that we'll get to on that in a minute. But this definitely continues that, what they had in that, though it's not really as high stakes and grabs you by the balls as much as the first film had done. And you're not as emotionally attached and understanding of why he's doing what he's doing, as opposed to the fact that you just have what happened in the first film to really go off of before you really... Yeah, it's really the sense that maybe you have to see the first film before you see this one, or else it's just not going to click as well. And that's probably the one problem that most sequels usually have, is in that regard, but it's still a fun watch regardless. Definitely worth at least a matinee in the theater, if not even at full price, for that matter. Coming in at number 13, the Lego Batman movie. Oh, Lauren definitely brings it again. The humor in this, Batman, the jokes galore for Batman fans, Justice League fans. Man, I bet we definitely was a good enough film to help us get through Batman v Superman's bitter taste that he put in our mouths, to a degree, or at least those who saw the theatrical cut like myself, even though I did enjoy that film for what it was at that time, even though I wish I could see the other cut to where I could see a lot more out of Superman and go off of that going into Justice League and blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry. Forgive me for that. Coming in at number 12, I already spewed out my controversies in a 30-something minute video that nobody got to see. And it bothers me that I wasted my time bothering to see this film and having to deal with my job basically being a crux and allowing me to have people actually see and hear my own opinion. and that is, of course, with Star Wars Last Jedi. And this backlash really pisses on this film pisses me off far more than anything. I don't know. I stand by the fact that I would say it's better than Force Awakens. I don't know if I can say that or not, but what I can say is that Rian Johnson definitely took risks, and for the most part, I like the direction that they are going. In fact, even despite Mark Hamill's thoughts on the direction they are going, but I do like it. It's just one thing that hurts this film mostly, that I think a lot of people are having real issues with, that I can agree and attest to and sympathize or empathize with you Star Wars fans for, is the fact that this left us with more questions than answers, and hopefully J.J. Abrams can end this trilogy, end all those questions, and ride us out into the sunset with Episode 9, and which I'm still looking forward to. And despite all this, I'm still looking forward to seeing how the Han Solo spinoff thing is going to go over. Coming in at number 11 is Dunkirk. Really enjoyed how good that film was. How Christopher Nolan does somewhat make up, I guess, for Interstellar, even though I never got a chance to see that. But this film is definitely, from a technical perspective, really, really good. And in terms of war films, it is definitely not told in a conventional way. It's definitely untraditional. Really more unconventional than anything. Because it doesn't focus on characters, as it is really about the war. The star is the story, the Battle of Dunkirk itself. And I only regret having not had a chance to see this one, the film on Winston Churchill that came out a couple months back, or a few weeks back, to where it would make Dunkirk possibly up a little higher as a film. I was surprised, because usually films like this, I would wait and watch it via rental or something, but I didn't, because a buddy of mine was going to leave to potentially be in the Navy. I don't know if he's going to be anymore, which is probably a bummer. But not the first time somebody signed in the Navy and bad things happened. I had another friend that had that happen too, so anyone who's had those issues when trying to get in the military, and that sucks for you guys. But kudos to whatever chance you try to have and giving us your service. We'll still applaud you for at least trying to make an effort to do so for us, even if it wasn't much of anything at all. Coming in at number 10, The Foreigner, based off of a book called The Chinaman, and starring Pierce Brosnan, and for the first time in a long time, in a theatrical U.S. theatrical release, Jackie Chan. Fuck, when I saw this trailer, I was happy, and for the most part, I was expecting a law-abiding citizen meets Taken, and to a certain extent, and that's exactly what we got here, except, a slight role reversal of the law-abiding citizen thing. I'll tell you that. You're definitely rooting more for Chan's character than anything, and the only flaw is not getting to see more of him. But when you do see him, it always lights a smile on my face. Just to see him in a darker, more serious role, but still see him kick ass when need be. And I loved it. I loved what happened here. And he's just, I'm sorry. It was just awesome to see, and yeah, I definitely say it's definitely worth the full price of admission as far as I'm concerned. Some people will say it's probably worth a matinee, maybe, or even a rental for that matter, but either way, it's at least a film worth watching. And you go check it out. And when you get a chance, you should go check it out. It is damn good. The best thing I've seen in Jackie Chan as an actor this time, performance-wise, is damn good. And Pierce Brosnan kills his somewhat villainous role. That's somewhat sympathetic, I guess, since you have to be, because he's most in the movie for most of the movie. Coming in at number 9 is a movie I did see twice. Nice, but the second time around was really like, whatever. Never really. And this was a film that's not even in my wheelhouse. And that's for number 9, and that's Split. If not for having been spoiled that ending, I wouldn't have seen this film. But knowing that and hyping myself up for that ending when it really kind of took away from... If you just take that out of it, it's still a good film. And James McAvoy brings his A-game in this film. And the thing that this film... Sure, it had already been talked about from AFI in November 2016. But it came out in January. But it was given a January release. January release for this year. How many people could say a great film, that yet alone one that would make a top 10 list like my own, would actually... And in a horror film, nonetheless, technically, even though it's psychological thriller for the most part, it doesn't become horror until near the end when the beast shows up. And that one surprise cameo that basically ties this film in with another film of his discography. That is the best, in my opinion, the best film he's ever done. M. Night Shyamalan wise, has ever done, and is yet to have topped. And he may get a chance to do so because I'm looking forward to Glass. That's for damn sure. And how what happened here and what happened in Unbreakable all come together finally in this film. I can't wait to see how Glass turns out. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping that after all this time, we get to finally get this build up, and I can't wait to see it. Number 8 is to see that. Number 8 is Thor Ragnarok. Man, I had fun with this movie. A blast, and it is definitely, as far as I am concerned, despite certain people, just a different. I find this better than any. This is definitely a step up from. Like Thor Dark World, I liked better because we got a little more action than the first film. First film, as a story-wise and whatnot, it works, I guess. But for the most part, it is a downer because you wanted to get more out of him. And you finally get a chance to... Chris Hemsworth turns out he can be a funny dude, and he needed a chance to get that, to get a chance to shine with that stuff. And he finally does here. This film, and definitely that humor does work toe-to-toe with Tom Hiddleston's Loki. Probably one of the last performances outside of Infinity War we'll probably ever get to see of him. Cannot wait for that as well. And I'll probably say it again later on in this list when we get to that. Coming in number 7, a film that I would definitely, after seeing a certain particular film that will be later in this list, this film in particular at number 7 is what you're going to have to see afterwards just to cheer you back up to a degree. And that's Wonder Woman. Or you could try Thor Ragnarok too, you know, or even another film that's come on this list in terms of the superhero thing. But Wonder Woman was, when it came out, perfectly was that film that worked. And a female-led superhero movie with a female director backing up behind it. This film had a lot going for it. And with the DCU and things going bad, Wonder Woman needed to be good. Needed to at least be good. And it surprised us with how great it actually is as a myth film. Sure, its third act is kind of... But the thing is, almost every third act, to some degree or another, when it comes to like the MCU films specifically, have this same issue. So as far as I'm concerned, the fact that Wonder Woman is just dealing with similar issues that those films are having, compared to what we got out of the past couple films in the DCU in 2016, this was a step up and definitely showed for brighter things to come, even if Justice League was not able to live up to what Wonder Woman did. Hell, having seen Wonder Woman helped even make Justice League a better even better film. Which even makes Wonder Woman an even better film on top of that. I even had a friend who'd never seen Wonder Woman. And never seen Batman v Superman because he was turned off from seeing it. Even though I personally liked it myself, and I've even told him just don't watch the theatrical cut, watch the the more ultimate cut, because that one is more the vision that Snyder wanted, and just go off of that instead. You're not going to miss too much anyway, if you do. And just Chris Pine's role as Trevor was amazing. I was happy to get that we did get to see Zeus, and instead of making him a metaphorical thing. But there was but I could see why it was a slight turn off, because of that great speech Chris Pine had during that third act. Oh, sorry about that. And Wonder Woman, definitely not only worth press submission, definitely an awe-inspiring film for women in general, as well as a lot of other things. But it's not the only groundbreaking film that would somewhat come out, or that definitely broke out. That was definitely a very cultural film that will definitely stand that will be the one thing about the DCU right now, or whatever they're calling themselves at this point. That's definitely going to stand the test of time, regardless of, and the fact it doesn't even, to the point where it doesn't even have to tie in so much with what happened in the other films. It didn't even rely on it. It's its own standalone. So you could even see this film, and not even if the DCU went to shit, and nobody would care to have said so, unless you were talking about Man of Steel or something. In fact, it's better than Man of Steel, I would say, to a degree, if I dare say so myself. Gal Gadot did good, and hopefully proved everyone wrong about her as Wonder Woman. Patty Jenkins proving herself as a well-rounded director. Can't wait to see them two work together for Wonder Woman 2. Hopefully the Brett Ratner thing got... And, since of what happened with X-Men 3, like, we care what Brett Ratner get involved in this project, whatever. At least let him go. Get him out of here so we can have a Wonder Woman 2, damn it. And it'd be hopefully as good, if not better, than what this movie has done. Coming in at number 6, War for the Planet of the Apes. What a dang perfect way to end this trilogy and to end Caesar's story. Man. This is perfect. This is a perfect trilogy. These Planet of the Apes films that build up to that, they have all three been perfect. This is a great character piece for Caesar, the character of Caesar. I mean, Andy Serkis. It's a shame that you didn't get much to go off of for Last Jedi as Snoke, which really sucks. But at least with this film in particular, I'm surprised you never did get nominated in Dawn, because that was freaking spectacular. I almost want to say it's slightly better, but just as a character piece in of itself. But everything we've had built up from the past two films leading up into this, it was perfectly done, and it worked so damn well as a film, as a whole. Now our top 5, where things get even harder for me to talk about with this. Number 5, Spider-Man Homecoming. Oh, finally, Spider-Man done as a teenager in high school, and done right. Don't get me wrong, I liked Tobey Maguire's performances in the first two Sam Raimi films, and his performances even Andrew Garfield's performances were in the Amazing Spider-Man films, despite, the source material and what was on paper for him. He was, how he handled him, especially in the second, which is a shame how him and the chemistry with Emma Stone were perfect in those films. And it's a shame that the film surrounding them, more specifically in 2, was awful. For almost to the extent of what happened in Spider-Man 3. Which bothers me, and that's why I'm so glad Marvel got a chance to have enough of the reins to where they put enough of their own stamp, to where the MCU stamp was put on Spider-Man and made it better, and in turn gave us possibly the best Spider-Man film we've ever had. Possibly better than 2. Don't quote me on that though. We'll see how it goes as the film ages over time, and hopefully Tom Holland is still going to be our Spider-Man, despite that weird news thing about Stan Lee bugging him at 2 a.m. in the morning about some stupid Spider-Man fact that nobody really gives a flying fuck about. You now, apparently, because you're 95, senile old man. I never had a reason to be mad at you, Stan Lee, but if you're gonna fuck with Spider-Man, you're damn right I should have a reason to get mad at you for fucking with us, having already a great Spider-Man in Tom Holland. And how the fuck are we supposed to find someone better that's of the right age, that was as perfect as Tom Holland was? Fuck you, Stan Lee, for doing what you did. And not knowing when to shut the fuck up, or at least the people involved with Marvel Studios for not finding a good enough management to make sure that he did not fuck with this kid. Regardless, Spider-Man Homecoming is great. The performances were great for all around, not just Tom Holland, but even Michael Keaton's role as Vulture. Who'd have thunk someone could actually make Vulture a better, more relatable character? In fact, I think after this film, I think they should rewrite Vulture as a completely different character, something closer to this character in particular. Hell, he was better than what we got out of Sandman in Spider-Man 3 for damn sure. Once the actor who played him, who was somewhat of a good actor. But anyway, coming in at number 4, Coco. Definitely awesome. Pixar's back. Back at its finest. Inside Out was great, but then we had a bump in the road with stupid fucking Cars 3 and Good Dinosaur. But then this film happened, and it's like, hey, we're really bringing it back now, because this is definitely like top 5 in Pixar films, and definitely hits it really hard, and hits home and finds a way to be relatable as a family film, a true family film, because not only can kids enjoy this, but so can adults, and you don't have to necessarily be a man-child to do so, damn it. Though it might help in the long run, I guess. I don't know what to tell you on that one. But yes, definitely enjoyable, and the music aspects were great, but there was another film that had more of a better music thing going on with it. And that's not, and we're not even close, and we're coming close, but not there yet. Coming in at number 3, The Disaster Artist. James Franco, definitely bringing it as Tommy Wiseau. But the real thing is the story that this is based off of, with behind the scenes of The Room, what happened with that. Greg Estado, or whatever your last name is. Forgive me, dude. Or Gustado, I think is maybe last name. I'm trying to figure that out. But this, Greg is the character that you're basically drawn off of, because he's the most sane and he's the one that's trying to piece things together. Even though you're more agreeing with Seth Rogen and all the other people behind the scenes, you're basically dealing with the craziness of Tommy Wiseau, how freaking nuts he is. Coming in at number, and I enjoyed this film all around. I came out quoting The Room, even though I already came in quoting The Room, and I still came out quoting The Room afterwards, even with some of the messed up stuff Tommy Wiseau had done during the filmings of this project, and the grueling processes of what he did with people. That he's just some man shot. He's clearly messed up. And man, he must be. I have theories on him, but I'm not sure I can waste time and talk about that right now, because we got to finish this list before I get cut off again, because I had to do this a second time for a take. Speaking of second, number 2, Baby Driver. Shame Kevin Spacey, though. Had to be a prick. But yeah, Baby Driver. Awesome. Awesome. Love the guy that was in this film, who played Baby, was awesome. Ella James, despite what some people will say about their chemistry, I thought it worked. I thought it was cool. I loved the sort of old school feel of that sort of romance going on in that film. But the soundtracking, Edgar Wright directed this film and did well. Even great performances from Jamie Foxx, and most especially John Hamm. And the new kid, and this is the debut, and the kid who's starring in this film, it's his debut, big feature-length debut, and what a breakout film to have, man. And the soundtracking was perfect. Hell, there's even cameos and appearances from some of the artists that are from some of these other things that were actually involved in the groups and stuff. But my God, there was one film that just couldn't be beat, and it happened earlier in the year. There was so much hype to it. It lived up to it. And my God, did it not only deliver, it broke me, man. As a fan of X-Men, as a fan growing up from the 90s, like Spider-Man, I grew up to X-Men, man. The animated series, both for those in the 90s, Fox Kids, man. And before Fox decided to make them big deal films, which thank God they turned out as well as they did at that time. And ever since the first X-Men film, full-length feature, live-action film, have we been waiting for there to be a true rated R representation of Wolverine, especially the source material of Old Man Logan. More specifically, this is the Unforgiven of the X-Men films, and that, my friends, is Logan. I've said enough in my review that I did with my ex. I adore this film. I wish I had it physical copy in my hand right now so I could watch it and just bawl my eyes out, only to eventually, because Disaster Artist is super funny. But anyway, Logan. Everything was great in this film. Even the little kid that played X-23. I want to see an X-23 film. There was so much going on here for a Logan fan. For a last hurrah. This was perfect for Hugh Jackman and for even Patrick Stewart. These last hurrahs, and for a brief second, there was a moment where it went a little horror-ish, but in a way that would have been like, oh no, they're screwing this up. But they didn't. They found a way to just immediately fix it with the way that it went with that direction. I was like, holy shit. And sure, it was another mirror version of self, but for what this film asked for, given the character piece it kind of is, it was perfectly worked for this film. And it definitely takes a lot from old westerns. It takes from even Shane, not just Unforgiven, maybe even to the extent of in the modernized twist of No Country for Old Men. And I really love it, and it makes me feel good about having this hat, the hat like this myself, especially being an Aussie hat, because Hugh Jackman's Australian, so that's kind of even more ironic given all the stuff. But anyways, that's my list for films this year. What was your top 20, 10, whatever, or worst to best films you've seen this year? Comment below, let me know. Rock that like button with thrust if you must for this video, if you liked this video at all. And guys, leave also check out my Facebook page as well, which is also in the link in the description box below. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I will see you in 2018 for hopefully many more films and even many more albums, which I will definitely get to 2017's ones, but I still need time to do that, and I still need to recover, because if you could tell, I'm a little nasally. Oh, I just swallowed that one. Forgive me. But yeah. Take care, y'all. Happy 2018. 2017 was definitely good. Hopefully 2018 can be better for all of us. Take care, y'all.